Hello everyone, it's yours, your friend, your boy, Jet Black the One Only, here with another exciting live stream. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my day-to-day, September 15th, 2019. Today is one of the most fun Today is one of the most fun days I've had in a long time. I really have enjoyed today so far. Today, Aiden and I went to Dave and Buster's, and we hung out with my mom, her fiance Ernest, my brother, and my brother's girlfriend. We went around and we played air hockey. We played a few like carnival style games that have been modernized for like a 21st century arcade, and we played some superhero fighting games, specifically some superhero phone games that have been just retrofitted into arcade cabinets, which is really weird. But they have the Injustice phone game and they have the Marvel Contest of Champions phone game with a few mechanic changes. Um, Set up to where they're like card scanning. They're like card scanning dispenser games. Let me explain, because I feel like I'm tripping over my words trying to describe what the game is like. So essentially, these superhero fighting games are games where if you don't have any of these cards, they give you a random set of characters to play as for you to face off against either an opponent or against the computer. Then, after you complete a match, you are given a random card that has like a rarity based off of like the number of stars at the top. Also, you can tell this is like a foil card. And it has stats on the back, and it tells you a little bit of information about the character. And there's a barcode at the top. So once you get one of these cards, you can go up to one of these fighting game machines, and you can scan the card, scanning the barcode part, and then that character is loaded into the game. So you don't have to play with random characters. You can play with characters that you already own, and I think that's pretty cool. Um, so I'm gonna show you guys some of the cards that I got. For the Injustice game, they have team cards to where you can get a card that has like an entire team of characters on it. So if you scan this one card into the game, you get all three characters, which I think is really cool. This is a Flash themed team that has Metahuman the Flash from the TV show, Elseworld the Flash, and Reverse Flash. This is a Marvel Contest of Champions card. This is the Ant-Man card that I got. This is another Marvel Contest of Champions card. This is Gamora. Technically, the Ant-Man card that I got, Aiden got this card, but Aiden gave it to me because he doesn't care about Ant-Man. This is a Gamora card that I got. Nani said, "Is that you? Yo, Nani, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy and any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream?" Nani said, "What the hell? No one's here. I mean, and the stream's only been going for like 3 minutes. You're just kind of early." And then well, you're more or less on time. I'm not gonna say you're early. And then I got two copies of Lex Luthor for some reason. I don't know why I got Lex Luthor twice, but I did. But yeah, those are some of the cards that I got. I really like the concept of these fighting games that print out these scannable cards that you can then use as characters in the game. When I was a kid, I had a Hyperscan, and a Hyperscan was essentially a game console that had the same idea behind it, where you have cards for characters, and you scan the characters into the game to play as them. And the Hyperscan I had came with an X-Men fighting game, and I had a few of those cards. But the Hyperscan was just kind of an ass console, like cool idea, like cool like gimmick idea, but the execution was just poor. I don't think it was very well done. But I like this. I like this a lot. It seems to work better as an arcade setup, and it feels like something straight out of a like Saturday morning cartoon. Being able to cards. I mean, sorry, scan cards into games as characters that you can play as. It reminds me of like when you would watch Yu-Gi-Oh and they would place the cards down on the field and then they get summoned inside the game. It reminds you of that kind of thing. So I think it's really cool. I vibe with that. Then Nani said, "What cards are those?" And he said, "Where you put those cards in." So those cards are from the Contest of Champions arcade game and the Injustice arcade game. Both are superhero fighting games where each time you play, you're given a random card of a certain of a certain rarity that you can then use in order to summon characters that you want to play in the game. And me and Winslow went to Dave and Buster's earlier today, and we played both of those games, and we had a pretty fun time. I think those were my favorite games from Dave and Buster's that we played. But yeah, Winslow, my family, and I went to Dave and Buster's. We hung out, we ate, and then we went to the movies and we saw Hobbs and Shaw, the new Fast and the Furious movie. And me and Aiden pretty much sat near the back of the theater and just made fun of the movie the whole time. But today it was super fun. Nani said in the arcade machines, you don't necessarily put the cards in them. They have a scanner, kind of like a barcode scanner, like what you have at a store where you like scan an item. You just slide your card on the scanner, and then your character appears in the game. And they're not just like reskins. Like each of the characters have their own like stats and abilities and stuff like that. So getting the cards matters because different characters have different stats, and they also have different rarities. I don't actually know how you determine rarities for the Injustice ones, but for the Marvel ones, they actually have stars at the top, so you can tell that like Ant Man is like a 3-star card. Um, Now for the Injustice team card, it actually has stars on the side. So this is like a 4-star card. So I can tell for that one. Maybe there are cards on the side on. Oh, here we go. Lex Luthor is garbage. I have 2 Lex Luthors. He is a 1-star. He is only 1 star, which means this Flash card is actually really good. This team card, this like 4 stars, it's probably the most rare card I got between both games. But yeah, I vibed it. I had a fun time with that. Most def. And then Nani said, "Cool, yeah." Nani, how's your day? That how has your day been today? Ah, it's pretty good. Nani said, "Good, and you?" Oh, fantastic as always. Thank you for asking. I've had a really fun weekend, just overall. Believe it or not, like this weekend has just been amazing. Kel said Zubo. No, he said Zubu. Yo, Kels, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Nani said, "What is that drink?" This is a lemon lime Powerade. I don't know why. I really like to drink Powerades during these streams. So lemon lime is actually my favorite flavor of Powerade and of Gatorade. So I'm glad that we have that. Also, I bought a couple new video games. I probably need to stop buying video games all the time and not finishing them. But I bought a couple new video games. I was hanging out with Beth the other day, and we went to GameStop. I picked up Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Strikers. So I'm gonna try and play some Shinobi Strikers at some point, but I'm not gonna play online. I'm only gonna do the offline missions for Shinobi Strikers. But in case you guys aren't familiar with this game, it's essentially like Dragon Ball Xenoverse, except it's Naruto. So you like have your own created character, and you're able to customize them and give them different powers of different Naruto characters. It's essentially like if you like making Naruto OCs, it's Naruto OCs the video game, pretty much. So I bought that, and then the second video game that I bought recently, I bought this as well when I was hanging out with Beth. World of Final Fantasy. So I've never played a Final Fantasy game. This is gonna be the first This is gonna be the first Final Fantasy game I ever play, and pretty much World of Final Fantasy is kind of like a Pokemon style game where you travel around like a huge open world. You collect different monsters to fight alongside you, and it's kind of like a turn-based monster collecting strategy RPG kind of thing. Um, I noticed that Nani said pre-owned. Yeah, of course pre-owned. So I can buy games via the PlayStation Store if I want, but if I do, I have to buy them full priced. So I was like, GameStop. I'd rather get a pre-owned copy, spend like $15 than go online and spend like full store price of like $60 for no reason. It's not like these games are brand new. I'd rather spend like 15 than like spend 60, no doubt. Nani said, so Nika Crimson, what would you want me to draw? No homo. So what would I want you to draw? Are you talking about for like a Halloween fan art contest? Anything that you think would be cool fan art, that's like Halloween themed, I guess. If you're trying to do like the fan art contest, excuse me. Nani said that game kinda cheeks. In regards to Shinobi Strikers, I've heard mixed things. So I do feel weird about it, but it was only like $15, so I'm not sweating it. You know what I mean? I'm not like, oh man, you know. So I think it'll be fine. Like for how much it costs, as long as I can stream it without any issues, I think it'll be worth the price. If for whatever reason I can't stream it, I might as well take it back to GameStop. So we'll see. We'll see. Kel said, Striker high key sucks, especially if you don't have online. So I don't have online, so this is gonna be interesting. Uh, I've heard, I've heard mixed things. Nani said, yeah, fan art with Nickabenson. Oh, he said fam art with Nickabenson. And then Nani said, $15, not bad. And he said, not worth 60. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how much I like it. The TGN anime review of Shinobi Strikers more or less said the fun part is that you don't have full customization options at the beginning. So whenever you're playing missions, you're always hyped because you're close to unlocking another thing that you can use to modify your creator character. So it's a thing where it's like, oh man, I really want to have like this hairstyle or like this outfit, but if I want the creator character to look or play the way that I want it to, I have to kind of like keep grinding. But it always feels like you're like achieving something. Like, oh, like if I just do a few more missions, I'll get like the next thing I want for my character, kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Because it more or less at that point is just a create a character game, but you can't just have what you want at the very beginning. Like the whole point of the game at that point is to make your character cool in the way that you want it to be. So I'm like, that's an interesting concept. I like that. Nani said, so Alien X Benson with dreads? Ooh, I think that would be really cool. Your boy Kells actually has already done something like that. He's done me as Alien X and he's done me as Blue Beetle before. And both were pretty solid. But I love art like that. A matter of fact, the art that Kells did of me as Blue Beetle, I actually like really, really dig. It's probably like one of my favorite fan art pieces I've received. So yeah. And then Nani said, so create a Benson kind of game. I will be trying to create a character that looks somewhat like me in Shinobi Strikers. A matter of fact, I think I like the concept of Shinobi Strikers a little bit more than I do for Jump Force. I didn't really like that in Jump Force I could create the type of character I wanted from the get go, because I think that's part of the reason why I don't really play Jump Force anymore. If I was still like working to try to make the character that I wanted, then I think I would, you know, be playing Jump Force now to be like, okay, I gotta build my guy. You know what I mean? Nani said, who's the other character that you like from Ben 10? There are a lot of Ben 10 aliens that I like. One of my personal favorites from the new series is Shock Rock. I really like Shock Rock. I think he's very dope. I like his power set. I feel like Ben never uses Shock Rock to his full potential. Kel said, Jet, what do you think I should do with the future of poker game? So I guess my question, I shouldn't say my question. I guess my answer to your question would be, what do you want to do with the future of poker game? Are you still making it a manga, and are you still going to post it online? Um, have you decided on where you're going to post it, and what progress have you made on it so far? Beth said, can we finish the group hangout issue talk here? It doesn't involve a lot of my personal secrets. So Beth, currently no one else knows what you're referring to. Do you mind if I give some, I guess, details on that situation if you would like to discuss it here? We don't have to discuss it here, but if you would like to, I guess I would like to explain it. And then Beth said, yeah, okay, cool. So Beth earlier tonight hit me up and she was like, hey, for our next SO Saturday, we call our date nights SO Saturdays because they're significant other Saturdays, where me and Beth just kind of get to spend the day together. And we do that once a week on Saturdays. Beth hit me up and she was like, hey, do you mind if a couple of my friends come and hang out with us next SO Saturday? And I was like, sure. do you mind if one of my friends joins in? And that way it would be like two of Beth's friends and one of my friends, and we'd all just hang out together and like have a good time. And then when I said, "Do you mind if one of my friends jumps in?" Beth was like, "Whoa, like what's going on? You know, why would you want your friends?" kind of thing. And it was really weird. But we talked about it, and I feel like me and Beth have come to more of an understanding on it. But it's still something that we're discussing. So that gives you guys a little bit more context on the situation. Kel said, I think I'm going to post it on Sat AM. I guess a better question would be, do you have any ideas? Like, do I have any ideas for poker game? Do you mean like story ideas, character ideas, power ideas? Like, what kind of ideas? And then based on your answer, I'll try and give you any ideas that I have. Beth said, go ahead and explain. My next response is in the Facebook message. Well, you have like multiple Facebook messages that I just haven't really gotten a chance to look at because I've been doing the vlog. Do you mind if because if I'm answering over the vlog, do you mind if I read the messages over the vlog? Not necessarily all the messages, but just the recent ones that you've sent so far. Let's see. Nani said, he said, I think I'm a so half demon, half angel, Nickabenson. Interesting. Half demon, half angel, Nickabenson. What do you guys think of that as like a fan art concept? Do you think that you guys would be hyped for that? And then Nani said, I did a quick sketch if you want to see. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Is it on the Amino? Then Bacon Sugar Gamer said, yo, Bacon Sugar Gamer, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to discuss on the stream? Right now, me and Beth are talking about a SO Saturday thing. SO Saturdays being the Saturdays that me and Beth spend together on the weekends. Um, and Nani is talking about fan art because he's trying to figure out what fan art he wants to submit for the fan art contest that we're going to have on. It's a Halloween fan art contest. Have we decided when the contest will take place? Like when I'll be like, hey, okay, this is when the fan art's due? Because I think we need like a deadline, right? That way the contest has like an official end time. And then Kells is talking about Poker Game, the manga that he's working on, and he's asking me if I have any ideas for the future of Poker Game. So I asked Kells, what are some like what kind of ideas does he want? Nani said he posted a sketch. Well, he didn't say he posted it. He said he did a quick sketch of some fan art, and I'm interested in seeing the sketch that he made. So I pulled up Amino. And then Beth sent me a few Facebook messages about the SO Saturday thing, so I'm about to read those Facebook messages. So Beth said, I understand where you're coming from now. Would you still ever be down to do and then she lists a group of her friends, hangout at some point? So in regards to would you still ever be down to do a list one, two, three of her friends hangout thing? So Beth, I know you're not a big fan of having hangouts of more than 5 people. So it sounds like if we were to do that hangout, considering it's like three of your friends plus us, it would probably just be like me and just your friends, which is fine. Like I'm not against having a hangout where it's like me and just your friends. It's just a thing where it's like SO Saturdays are kind of a day that we normally set aside specifically for me and you to be able to hang out. You know what I mean? Um, and when the SO Saturday becomes more of like a group hangout where it's like it's not just us, it's like us and our friends. I kind of like the idea of us blending our friend groups together so it's not like a one-sided thing because I guess it's a thing where you don't want either person to feel like super alienated. You don't want it to be like it's my friend group plus you. You want it to feel like everybody kind of fits in. You know what I mean? And we have had friend hangouts before where it was just my friends. But I feel like in those situations, it was just situations that were outside of our control. For example, whenever we go over to one of my friends' houses, well, I don't feel like that was grammatically correct. Whenever we go over to a house of one of my friends, we don't have the ability to invite other people in, which I think is the only reason why it hasn't been oh, we're going over to Aiden's, like invite your friends, because you can't invite your friends to somebody else's house. Or like whenever we go to one of my friends' birthday parties, again, it's like a thing where it's not like I'm against spending time with your friends, but we can't invite them to a thing that we didn't organize. You know what I mean? But outside of situations like that, it's always been okay to be like, yeah, for you to invite your friends over and we all hang out as a group. That was the plan for Labor Day. It's just one of your friends wasn't able to come, was the only thing. You know what I mean? Um, but I just feel like for group hangouts, I would like it to, in situations where we can control it, try and have like a balance of both of our friend groups. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be like half and half, but I would like to be able to have like a mix and for not only us to get to know each other's friends better, but also for us to for our friends to get to know each other better. You know what I mean? Let's see. And then Nani said, now it's on Amino. Okay, I will refresh Amino and I will check out that sketch that you drew and I'll post it in the live chat. Bacon Sugar Gamer said, I want to do an animation, but I don't know how to animate. When it comes to animation, Bacon Sugar Gamer, you can do a lot of fun stuff. When I was younger, on the YouTube channel, I have a few stop motion animations that I made. I actually made a lot of stop motion stuff like earlier this year or last year. And I also have done a few like Microsoft Paint animations, but it's legitimately you draw a picture of something in one position, and then and then in the next picture, it's in a slightly different position, and then in the next picture, it's in a slightly different position, and you take all those pictures and you put them in a video, and you speed up the video to where it just looks like it's moving fluidly instead of just like one image at a time. You know what I mean? You make it move so quickly that they blend into each other and all the pictures kind of become a video. I think that's the simplest way to describe it. It's similar to how when people would make those little flipbook cartoons, you just draw an image on like the corner of each page, and then when you flip through the pages real fast, you see it animate. Like that's pretty much all animation is in a very simplified manner. Beth said, can I use Hero Machine in the fan art contest? I can't draw. You can use Hero Machine. I am fine with that. In case you guys aren't aware, Hero Machine is a website where you can create your own character art using assets created by other people. You can use Hero Machine. I will say that I will probably rate I won't say hand drawn necessarily, but I'll probably rate things that are made using more like drawing tool kind of things than Hero Machine. Hero Machine is very pre-built. You know what I mean? Um, Whereas I feel like someone who like sketches everything out and like fills in the details, I'll probably rank them higher personally when doing the fan art contest. So it's totally fine for you to submit Hero Machine stuff. I just feel like it probably won't rank as high compared to something that takes, I guess, more effort. You know what I mean? Bacon Sugar Gamer said, what do you think of Shuri? Should she be a human hybrid or an alien race? What do you think? Well, Bacon Sugar Gamer, based on the things that you've told me about Shuri, I feel like Shuri would work as an animal hybrid character. Because you've mentioned that Shuri is essentially a cat, and Shuri's abilities, I feel like, can fit her being an animal style character. I think that's totally fine. If you wanted to make her an alien, that'd be okay too. I guess my question would be, either way, what are like Shuri's origins? Like, if she was to be like half animal, why? If she's like alien, why? And is it why or how? I guess either one works, but it's like, what's the story behind Shuri's origins and how Shuri came to be? And also, why can't she be both? Couldn't she be like an alien that's like a human animal hybrid style race? Like their race is genetically similar to the fusion of a human of an animal, but that's just how they are. You know, you could kind of play around with it and do whatever you want on that. Beth said, and the limit on length of Saturday group hangouts is 4 hours twice a month. Is that good? So we can do my friend stuff, but make sure we get alone time. That just seems very specific. Like I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think we necessarily have to lock down on it that hard. You know what I mean, Beth? Speaking of Beth, let's look at more of the Facebook messages. And then Beth said, or do you prefer all of our friend hangouts be blended hangouts? I would prefer that most of the time they be blended hangouts. Like, because of the fact that SO Saturdays are days that we normally dedicate to like spending time with each other, I feel like when it becomes like a friend day thing, where it's like we're doing a hangout with our friends, then I would like it to be like both of our friends. You know what I mean? Because we've talked about before how SO Saturday is like a us day, and how like I do friend and family Sundays, where I normally spend Sundays with like friends and family. Um, and then Fridays are just kind of a friend day in general. It's just mainly hanging out with friends is the idea. Um, and that's kind of what we do. And I'm not saying that we can't hang out with friends on an SO Saturday. It's just I feel like having the blended friend group, it just has so many benefits. I don't feel like anyone feels left out because everyone at least knows somebody. You know what I mean? But also, our friends can get to know each other, which can help blend our friend groups together. I just feel like there are a lot of positives to it. You know what I mean? Um, and it doesn't, I guess it feels less one sided as well. Because you don't want anyone to feel like, I guess, alienated. Because when you have a whole bunch of people who just know each other really well, and you have someone who's like kind of outside of that, it makes it feel odd, especially if they don't have like at least like one other person that they know kind of well. You know what I mean? Um, but I'd say I do prefer the blended hangouts. I don't think they have to all be blended, but if we can help it, like if we can control it, I don't see why we'd be against blended hangouts. You know what I mean? Big and Sugar Gamer said, I'm going to make Shuri's origin on Amino. Okay, ballin'. Speaking of Amino, we actually have an image posted by Nani. It's a sketch of half angel, half demon, Nickabenson. The sketch isn't completed yet, but I definitely see what you're going for, and I'm excited to see what you do with it. Nani's sketch. Excuse me. I do feel like the sketch, while it is in an early phase, you can see what he's going with, like just based off what it has alone. I think it's interesting because half of the chair looks like it's made of fire, and the other half of the chair almost makes it look like it's made of clouds. And I think that's a cool idea. Beth said, I understand where you're coming from. Still want to do that Kimberly and Winslow meet hangout. I do think that would be cool. And I feel like the Kimberly Winslow meet hangout sounds, I guess, more along the lines of the kind of thing that I would want. For one, with the Kimberly Winslow hangout, it's a thing where it's like we both have like an equal number of friends from our friend groups. Not saying it has to always be equal, but I just feel like that it makes more sense. It just seems fair, you know. And it's not a thing where anyone can be like, I feel left out because it's more of your friends than it is of my friends or anything like that. You know, like it's just kind of balanced. And it allows for our friends to get to know each other and for us to get to know each other's friends. And it just seems like more of like like it just seems like it'd be a more fun time. Um, Back on the Facebook messages, Beth said, I also feel like we need some boundaries regarding group hangouts on SO Saturdays, since I know you don't want all of our time to be group hangout time. And I do agree with that. I don't feel like I would want all of our time to be spent doing group hangout stuff. And then Beth said, so on SO Saturday specifically, how about we limit group hangouts to no more than two SO Saturdays a month, which literally is like saying, what if we limit them to half of our SO Saturdays a month, which I do think is kind of steep. I don't know. Considering that we only really get to spend like quality, just one on one time like one day a week and then we only get that 4 weeks a month and then it's like but what if half of that time was just not that, then it's like oh well that just seems like a significant chunk, half of the time. I don't know. I don't think we necessarily would want to make that a hard and fast rule to be like half of it can just not be that, you know. It just seems that seems a little much. And then Beth says we already had one thing with my mom this month. um, so one thing that we do a lot with our date stuff is that we'll be like, we'll have dates that are mainly in neutral territory. Like we'll half the time try and meet up in like a neutral zone that's between my house and your house. And then for the other half of the time, we do like side dates where it's like you come on my side of the town, my side of town, and we do something. and then we go over to your side of town and we do something. Recently, a lot of stuff has been more on my side slash neutral, but I think that's mainly because Dad's letting us finally like use the house a little bit, and I feel like we just both really enjoy having a space where we can just chill, and it's not like a bunch of like running around. I think that's the only reason why that's been happening so much. But in terms of the group thing, like the two a month thing. So you're like, we already had one this month that was like with your mom, but it sounds like you also want the one, like the second one. Like it sounds like you also want the second one to be like you and your friends. So it sounds like two a month specifically with your friends is what we like currently have. Like if we do the Danny and Teresa thing this next coming Saturday, and it's like, oh, it's like you just got two. Like you just got to have both of the group hangouts if we were to do the two a month thing. I still personally feel like we shouldn't be like two a month should be group hangouts because we can just do that on different days. You know, like it doesn't have to be on SO Saturday because we normally do friend hangouts at Station Retro on Fridays. I'm totally fine with doing group hangouts on Sundays, which we've done in the past. So I feel like I like them a lot more on Fridays and on Sundays than on Saturdays. And I'd rather not agree to having half of the SO Saturdays a month be dedicated to group hangouts because that just seems weird. It's kind of not what SO Saturdays are for, like in the first place. You know what I mean? Just kind of odd. Beth back on YouTube said, and I would also invite Justin. I mean, sure, like if you want to. That sounds fine. For the me, you, Kimberly, and Aiden hangout to also have Justin. Would you mind? Well, that would be one, two, three, four. That would just be four people, which isn't bad. Would you mind if I invited one more person, like to that? Like if we were to have that kind of get together? Because I know that your limit's five, but with that setup that you proposed, it'd be like two of your friends and like one of my friend. So I'm like, would you mind if I invited one more of my friends? Since it wouldn't go over your limit. You know what I mean? Let's see, because your limit's five people. Kel said, I have returned. Welcome back, Kels. It's good to have you. And he said, Jet, what's the worst power you can think of? The worst power I could think of? Probably a power that the user cannot control that does not help them in any way. A matter of fact, it's not that the power doesn't help them, it's that the power actually works to their detriment. So it's an uncontrollable power that only ever like messes up someone. Like it only ever like hurts them in some way. That's probably the worst power I could think of. Beth said, okay, that's understandable. Can we do blended hangouts on Sundays? I would much more prefer blended hangouts on Sundays than group hangouts on SO Saturdays. I feel like SO Saturdays, like from their inception, have been like the time that we truly get to spend together one on one, just like you and me hanging out. And I really enjoy that. I like that SO Saturdays are more of like our personal time that we get to spend together. But I feel like Fridays and Sundays are definitely more of the days where I'm like, yeah, I would love to do like a group thing where we get together with friends and we hang out and we do stuff. So I think Fridays and Sundays, I think, yeah, that'd be cool to do friend stuff. I like that. For Saturdays, I'm less inclined to want to do a group thing. It's just, that's not really what we do normally on those days. And it kind of takes away the one day that we do get to do that for something that we normally can just do on the days that neighbor it, just on those other days. And then Beth said, sometimes, not every Sunday. I understand where you're coming from with the not every Sunday thing. Because sometimes I just hang out with family, like on Sundays. Especially if mom wants me to go like all the way down to her house. Because otherwise it could be a thing where it's like, oh, I gotta go all the way to mom's. But then we're gonna do like a group blended thing. And then it's like, I don't want to get like pulled all over town kind of thing. Especially not on a Sunday. I just don't really have a lot of time on a Sunday. So I agree with the not every Sunday thing. Then Beth said, do you want me to try and reschedule the Denny and Teresa and other person thing to a Friday or Sunday? If you would like to. Like, if that's something that you would like to do, that is totally fine. Nani said, "So did you like it?" I did like it. Nani, I'm not sure if you were there for when I was looking at the fan art that you submitted, but I like the idea that half the throne is fire and half the throne is clouds to give it that whole angel slash demon aesthetic. I know it's still like an early sketch, but from what you have so far, I think it looks pretty cool. I also like that one foot has a sandal, and the other foot is like a monster foot with like a ball and chain like connected to it. So I think the fan art sketch concept that you have so far is looking pretty dope. I'll love to see what you do with it and how it develops more over time. And if you guys want to check out Nani's fan art sketch, that's currently a work in progress, feel free to do so by checking in to the channel. I mean, not the channel, the Amino, the Nickabenson Nation Amino. Matt said, "Hey, you aren't playing the bad game." Then he said, "No, no, no. The only reason why I don't currently have a game playing is because, for one, before the stream, I was writing rather than playing the game. Two, me and Beth have been messaging, so I haven't really had an opportunity to turn on a game. And three, I actually bought a couple new games, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do Serial M3, if I wanted to try out one of the new games that I bought on stream, uh, and then I just ended up not playing any of the games. Let's see, Beth said, also, I would rather stick to my 5 person limit. We have done one of my friends and 2 of your friends. We have done one of your friends and 2 of your friends. And I'm totally fine with the 5 person limit thing. I'm not against the 5 person limit thing. I think that's totally fine. Um, Also, you're right with the 5 person limit thing. I just realized the math. I'm not the biggest math person, but yeah, me, you, Kimberly, Justin, Aiden would be a total of 5. My bad. When I was talking about the one more person, I think I must have like just not counted myself before. But we do the 2 of my friends, 1 of your friend thing a lot of times for Station Retro on Fridays because it'll be like me, you, Dozer, Ryan, Charlie, a lot of times. So I understand where you're coming from. I feel like the only thing that puts the restriction on how many of each of our friends can join is the fact that we put a limit on the number of people who can attend. You know what I mean? Like if we didn't have a limit on the number of people who could attend, I think we wouldn't really care. But I understand why that limit exists, and I understand why we want to maintain that limit. Let's see. Beth said, I'm gonna try and reschedule the Danny and Teresa thing. Okay, ballin'. Matt said, Jet, stop buying games. These never actually work out. Your first 5? That's an inside joke. Me and Matt comes from the Battle Claw tournament. It's a really silly video. You can find it on YouTube. Beth said, I feel you on the not being able to math thing. Understandable. I really like Powerade. I don't know why sometimes it feels like it has some kind of weird carcinogenic aftertaste. I don't taste it all the time, but when I do, I really notice it. Beth said, though I want to do my family stuff once a month. We already did a family thing this month. Um, Understandable if you feel like that's something that you want to do. I feel like that's varied over time. Because I feel like sometimes we'll say something like, yeah, we should make sure that each month we schedule out that we do at least this thing. But I feel like that varies. Like the desire for it, I think, isn't always there. Like it changes. So I feel like sometimes when we do those like hard set in stones, like we should try and make sure that we do like at least this like once a month. I think it it's based on how we feel at the time, and we probably shouldn't try to be so heavy-handed on saying, yeah, definitely every month we should try to do at least this. Um, Certain things make sense because they're like a balance thing, you know what I mean? And other things I think are based on like I don't really know. Other things just feel like whims. Like I understand the desire of wanting to do a family thing once a month, but a family thing that would be like part of a date and then we would do like another thing, like what would be the thing that we did? Like what would be the other part of the date, like past like whatever the family thing was. Matt said, and every time we buy another game we get further and further away. from the Fighter Z DLC. Matt, I can tell you right now, I have like no interest in the Fighter Z DLC. I just don't want it. If I wanted it, I would buy it. Gogeta looks cool. When Vegito came out, I was like, Vegito seems cool. Maybe I'll get Vegito. And then I didn't get Vegito. I feel like I have a similar feeling right now. I'm like, wow, I really like how Gogeta looks. Gogeta's design is very similar to the God Fusion design from the Super Saiyan God Broly amusement park ride. Excuse me, where Goku like fuses with the people on the ride, so you get to become a part of the Goku fusion. Like if I was to get the Gogeta DLC, I would essentially pretend like it was God Fusion Goku from that ride. Long story short, I have an interest in Gogeta. I'm just probably not gonna buy him for the same reason that I got hyped for like Vegito, and I thought Vegito was cool. Um, I don't think I'm gonna buy Gogeta either, cause just my friends have it. I'm gonna go to a friend's house. A friend's gonna be like, "Let's play." I'm gonna get to try out Gogeta. I'm gonna be like, "That's good enough for me. I don't have to put money down to actually play as him," and that'll be about it. I can let you know that now. Kel said, "Is there something do you think I should change about the power system of poker game? I know we've went over this when I first introduced poker game, but I want to make the system as good as I can." Then Matt said, "More structure, less room for random caveats, but you have nowhere to play Gogeta this time around, since you never hang out with us." Colin wants to try and hang out this next coming Sunday. So, with Colin, this next coming Sunday, I could see a hangout. So I was gonna look at something on the Amino. It was because Kels was like, "What would I change about the poker game power system?" I thought to myself, "Damn, it's been a while since we talked about the poker game power system." It was like a multi-part blog, and it's not something that is easily described. Like it's not something where I could be like, "Could you just very quickly go back over it?" It's like no, there's a good amount to it. I think because there's so much to it, it'll take me a while before I could go like, here's exactly what I want to change. Maybe something that's simpler. Maybe something that's like easier to understand, especially since the thing that you described in multiple like text-based blog posts would have to be explained in a highly visual medium that is not as word heavy. Like imagine describing the Ooh, my mom's calling. It's like 8:42 p.m. What's going on? I hope everything's okay. Um, Imagine describing the poker game power system like in a thing where you can't say as much. Like you can't have as many words in it because it's like a manga. Like it's mainly like drawings and people like talking like in word bubbles and stuff like that. So maybe some simplified way of describing it without losing out on complexity. Because I'm not trying to say make it like less deep, but could you make it something that's easier to describe? Like just simpler to get at, like the root of. Let's see. Beth said, "Would you still be down to do the Danny and Teresa wedding on that Saturday?" Well, that's like an event that we have no control of the timing of. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't ask someone to move their wedding. So, yeah, I'd still be down to go to their wedding on that Saturday. It would be very absurd for me to be like, no, and then they have to move their thing. It's like, what gall would I have to have, for me to do something like that? Beth said, "I feel like that is an exception to the only us on Saturdays rule." Yes, yes, it is very much so an exception. I agree. Kel said, "I got all the DLC because I don't like not having all the content in a game, especially with fighting games." I think it depends because sometimes you just may not care for like a new character that comes out. You may be like, that character's kind of ass. Nani said, "I bought a new drawing tablet and it's so good." What brand? And what are some of the features that you really like about it? Matt said, "Jet, excuse me, stop trying to make short stories out of everything. I feel like within the medium of a manga, if you're gonna have like a really complex like system for powers, you need just a more simplified way to explain it to your audience. I'm not saying that the power system itself has to be dumbed down. Like it's not that it has to be less complex, but it just has to be described in a less complex way. Like it has to have certain mechanisms. Like it had. I'm trying to figure out a good way to describe it. One thing that a lot of manga does is spoon feed the audience. Like, you know just as much about the powers as you need to know to understand what's currently happening in the story. And only when events happening in the story cannot be explained without certain mechanics of the power system being explained, that those mechanics are, I guess, described. Either during the events or slightly before the event so that when the events happen, they make sense. Um, After the event can also work, but after the event can be a little bit confusing, especially if you do it as like a weird cliffhanger thing that doesn't make any sense. That could turn off readers. It's all dependent on a lot of things. Matt said complexity is fine so long as it is well structured. I think it has a lot to do with like how it is explained. Again, it doesn't have to be any less deep. I just feel like the way that it is described needs to be simpler. Because when you put it into the context of the visual medium of a manga, you can't be like, four full text pages describing the power system. Now back to the manga. You could. It's just kind of weird. I feel like it ruins the pacing of normally a fast paced visual medium thing like a comic or manga, where normally you are reading it and it has a very natural flow, to suddenly be like a novel. I just I just feel like you need another way to frame it, if that makes sense. Then Matt quotes me and he says, I'm not trying to ruin complexity. I'm just telling you to make this complex thing simple. You shouldn't put that in quotes if it's not what I actually said, Matt. You shouldn't, like, it's a paraphrased quote, but I understand what you're talking about. I'm saying it can still be deep, but it can just be explained in a less wordy and extended way. If that I gotta dip and finish my chores and shower before I hashtag text and read thing. I love you. I love you too, Beth. I hope that you have a wonderful time, and I'll see you later tonight. Kel said, I think I can explain the system well in the manga, because you just gotta break it down, then spread it out throughout the story appropriately. I agree with that. I do feel like it is something that the audience only needs to know so many elements of it at a time. They don't have to know all of it in like one big like, you know what I mean? So I agree with that. I do think you can like spoon feed it to the audience as they need to know it instead of laying it out all on the table. Um, but I was like, when you were asking what is one of the things that I feel like should be established in the future of poker game, I guess I was mainly saying to keep that in mind. Because the first issue I ran into was going like, oh yeah, if I want to actually have anything really to say about your thing, right now the way that I need to absorb the power system is to reread multiple things that are just kind of guidebook formatted rather than like in any smooth narrative way. So I'm like, oh, like it already feels kind of obtuse to get into, and it's not even the story, you know? Uh, let's see. Then Matt said, I love telling stories in mangoes. He said the quotes are basically the same thing you said. I don't think that's how quotes work, Matt. And then he said, you hate complexity. Easy. That's not really true. Uh, Kel said the most complex concepts are step ups and nightmares. And those things can be explained as the characters are introduced to it within the story. I agree that things need to be they they only really need to be explained as they become relevant to the story. Mm. Ryan said, "Issue boy here with leftist talking points." Yo, Ryan, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? So, Kels, what's a specific element of your power system that you would like to ask me about? So I can try and look over that specific element and see if there are any changes that I would make to it. Uh, did I say Ryan? Kells. Same thing I just said about Power System Poker Game. I couldn't tell if I said the right thing or not. Ryan said that drone strike is significant. He said half of the kingdom's daily oil output. Ryan getting political on us. Let's see. Nani said, I like everything about it. I can draw when I'm laying down and stuff. Okay, that's cool. Could you not draw while you were laying down before with your other drawing tablet? And if so, why? Kel said, how do you feel about step ups? Okay, let me go to the step up section. One moment. Mm. Bum bum ba bum ba bum bum ba bum ba bum bum ba 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 ba. Are step ups in part 4 or are they in part 3? Part 3 seems to be spiritual martial arts. I need to look up. Is it part 2 that has step ups? What part has step ups? Nani said, well, I had to sit on a chair and stuff, and it was a little outdated for your older one. It makes sense that the older one would be outdated. Does part 2 have step ups? Yeah, part 2 has step ups, and then the rules of step ups is longer than what a step up is. Let's see. Matt said, they are weird flexes that lead to random caveats. So let me look at what a step up is. What a step up is your drive taking on a different form to overcome an obstacle. Here's an example. Let's say your drive is a sword, and you get defeated by someone with a long range attack. To overcome that obstacle, your step up could be your sword turning into a large shield. It's weird that it became a totally different thing. Um, so a step up is more or less your, they're not stances, your drive becoming a thing that'll help you overcome an obstacle that you've faced. But it doesn't have to be necessarily of the same type of thing as what your drive was before. And it's not like just a direct upgrade to your drive. So it's not just like your sword now is like a broadsword, so it has more surface area and can deflect projectiles. It's like your sword now is a shield. It's just a completely different thing. And it doesn't even help you overcome the thing necessarily. Because, I mean, a shield is better than nothing. And maybe the shield deflects projectile. It wasn't really explained how the shield helps you overcome the long range capability of your opponent, but it's it's an interesting example choice. Let's see what you said in reaction. Kel said for step ups, I think I should have used a slightly different example. Instead of sword to shield, it should have been like sword to spear. And spears do have more range, and it lets you fight range with range, I suppose. I imagine whoever's using a projectile could probably be farther away than the person who has a spear, though. Like if I had a bow and arrow and you have a spear, I could probably be a significantly farther distance away from you and still be like battle capable, while you would be like, I need to like close this gap, or my spear is not very useful. Matt said, remember the original example he gave was reiterated in a better fashion. I do remember the original example he gave being changed to like a better example. He can also edit the post if he wants. Like the post on the amino aren't set in stone. Because whenever I reference back, as has just happened, I'm going to reference back and see that example. Then Matt said, nah, this it's just a thing. I guess that's kind of what I was getting at before when I was like, if it could be simplified. Like now that you've written out how your power system works, Kels, I feel like it would be easier than when you were first coming up with it, for you to read over it and go, okay, what's like a simpler way or a more concise or a more clear way to describe the power system? And it doesn't have to lose its depth for it to just be written in a way that's easier to digest and understand. Because the more that you understand about it, the easier it is for you to describe it with simplicity. Kel said, I can edit the post and I should, but I'd probably forget. Then Matt said, Jet, you were just saying that because you saw a giant text wall. That's understandable though, Matt. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it doesn't, there's nothing wrong with just simplifying something further, especially when it can still be the same thing. Matt said that doesn't mean that he was going to front load a giant text wall. We don't know. We don't. He's just asking for advice, and I'm like, well, advice, simplifying the thing. It'll just make it easier. Ryan said drones, weapons, jet. Yo, Ryan. Yo, stream as a whole. Have you guys heard of Robo Alive? Because I learned about Robo Alive the other day while on a date with Beth at Walmart, and it blew my mind because I don't understand why this is a thing. But Robo Alive is like a new robot pets line of toys, but they're not really pets, which I think is the thing that throws me so hard. They're not pets at all. They're just robot animals that are entirely autonomous and, as far as I can tell, not interactive. So they just run around. And all you can read on the boxes about them is like, yeah, they're so lifelike. They roar and they bite and they like move and they walk on their own. And in my mind, I'm like, what's the pet part? It just kind of exists. It's not like you feed it. It's not like it has sensors where you can interact with it. It just moves. And and I think that throws me. When I was a kid, I just feel like interactive pet toys were more interactive. This is just a thing that exists somewhere. But I'd highly recommend you guys check out the Robo Alive stuff, because it's just very peculiar. I don't entirely get it. Matt said, but you aren't actually engaging with the work as a whole to give advice. I asked him, could he give me like a more specific thing for me to like talk about? Like when he asked, like, is there anything that you want me to change about poker game? I was like, well, what about poker game would you like to like know more about? And like when it comes to advice, and he was like, well, step ups. Well, no, he was like the poker game power system. I was like, okay, the poker game power system. And I was like, what about the power system specifically do you want me to talk about? And it's like step ups. And it's like the first thing on the step ups was the like weird sword shield example. And I was like, ah, well, it feels weird. And then he's like, well, I think a spear would have been better than sword to a shield. I'm like, okay, and it's still kind of weird because the adaptation for that example then for the step up makes it seem like instead of becoming something that allows you to directly overcome the obstacle you faced, it's like your step up changes form to almost just be the same thing, like to be an obstacle in itself. Because you were like, you get hit with a long range attack, your sword becomes a more long range weapon. And it's like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. What if you started with like a gun, but then you got hit with a sword slash? Would your gun be like, well, now I need a close range thing? So would it then become like a musket with like a little like dagger on the end kind of thing? Like would it I just don't fully understand why it emulates the obstacle rather than becoming like a defense against the obstacle or something that allows you to directly overcome or counter the obstacle. Excuse me. Because I don't think a spear necessarily counters a projectile. It just allows your sword to, in its own right, be a longer range weapon. Like it made it mid range, even. It didn't even fully replicate the long range capability of what you were facing. I feel like that really threw me. I'm like, what? Then Matt said, you're just being length aversion. I don't think I'm being aversion. I think you mean aversive. Blah, blah, blah. I just feel like if it's phrased in a simpler manner, it'll be easier to put it into the actual like manga, uh, and it also will be easier to discuss. Then Ryan said, Walmart. And he said, makes more sense than a pet rock. Um, I just feel like if I'm getting a robot, like if I'm buying a robot, and the whole point is the robot is for the robot to be a pet, I don't understand why the robot wouldn't have any interactive features. Like, I don't get why it just runs around and tries to be realistic, but it doesn't actually, you can't play with it. Like, it doesn't have a sensor on it that understands when you touch it or if you're in front of it, and it doesn't have like game modes. It's just a robot that runs and tries to look like a real animal. Some of them are not even real animals. The Robo Alive robots are just quite odd, in my opinion. And some of them just seem to be like prank toys. Like they have one that's like a giant black widow spider. They have another one that looks like a cockroach. And those are like $5. And I'm like, $5 for a robot actually is not bad. These feel like a Walmart brand kind of thing, but they're kind of interesting. They've won awards. They've won awards for being. That shows that this is like a popular type of toy. They're just robots that don't do anything but move around. They just look like animals, but they don't. I don't understand why these are considered pets. They're in the interactive pet section of Walmart. It just throws me so hard. Matt said, Jet, you have more time because Beth will not get out of the shower and be ready by 9 p.m. Oh shit, it's 9 p.m. Thank you for letting me know, Matt. Yo, thank you all for watching. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black the one only, logging out. Peace. Yo, Matt, thank you for letting me know that it was 9. That was right on time. I'll catch you guys later.